Welcome to Kiss the Reviews. I'm Armando. That's Corey. And today we're doing 1980s Caddyshack. If you want to follow me or Corey on Twitter, you could follow me at Junior D's. You could follow Corey at Corey_idol. If you want to follow the show, you can follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Kiss the Reviews. And let's jump into the cast of 1980s Caddyshack. This film stars Chevy Chase as Ty Webb, Rodney Dangerfield as Al Czervik, Ted Knight as Judge Smails, Michael O'Keefe as Danny Noonan, Bill Murray as Carl Spackler, Sarah Holcomb as Maggie O'Hooligan, and Sidney Morgan as Lacey Underall.
There isn't a line in this movie that isn't quotable.
We'll start there. So there are a ton of lines in this movie that are extremely quotable.
How do you measure yourself with other golfers? By height?
I think this place is restricted, Wang, so don't tell me you're Jewish. Okay, fine.
Unbelievable. Thank you very little.
Your Honor, Your Honor. Well, we're waiting.
And this cast is amazing. Just Rodney Dangerfield, Chevy Chase, Ted Knight. Ted Knight is one of those guys that you just kind of forget about. I know, like, he had a very long and good career. But he's like, nowadays, it's just one of those guys that you forget about. And then you see him in a movie or a show or something. And you're like, oh, yeah, I remember that dude. Hilarious. He is so funny.
Classic TV actor. And just watching the buffoonery that is National Lampoons.
Yes.
Is one thing when you got guys like Chevy Chase, who was part of The Review. Or, guys like Bill Murray, who are just these naturally funny comedians that don't mind playing this fool. That's one thing. It's really cool to see, and it's still absolutely hilarious. But seeing these old school actors, and I know Ted Knight did comedy pretty much most of his career, but to see him do this hyperbolized, out of control, old white conservative shit ass.
Yeah.
Like, the only difference between this guy and him being portrayed today is an AR-15. The only difference.
Is it possible this story is true? Yes, it is.
And again, this was well written. We talk about comedies being well written, and even though it's a comedy and buffoonery and it's, funny and yada yada, it also has to be well written, well paced. There has to be a story. And this was well written, and all the characters, including Ted Knight's character, were so masterfully written.
Yes, 100%. Right down to even the jokes that they layered in, where there were certain things that Danny's character thought were really funny, and certain phrases he used that were more like a kid. Where Ty and Rodney Dangerfield are a little more elevated with their humor, and it has a little air of arrogance to it that a kid wouldn't have. The characters are so different from one another.
Yes.
And the jokes are written so differently from one another. It is fucking brilliant. This is like literally one of the only things Harvard has ever produced that's just been way to go.
Yeah. And
rich kids on coke writing comedy is amazing.
Yes it is. Well, let's dive right into this. So the movie opens with Danny waking up before going into work in apparently the hostel that he lives in, with 85 people just running around, just kids everywhere. And he rides his bike to work to caddy at Bushwood Country Club in Beverly Hills. We talk about comedies setting you up within the first few scenes of a movie. And you obviously have the first shots are of the golf course. You got the gopher, who's basically the star of the show without being in it the whole time. But you have that up front. You have a lot of those shots. And then you get to this, And we talk about movies like Dumb and Dumber, where it sets you up for this universe you're about to like traipse into. And it's like, oh, this is just ridiculousness. Like you're already set up for the rest of the movie just with this opening scene with just the orphanage, I guess, that his parents started in their house.
Yeah, and I got a quick tip here for the Dannies of the world.
Corey's life lessons.
Hi, Danny's Uncle Corey here. When you and your dad inevitably have to fight over your money and his complete control of your life, and you're like, I'm not calling you dad anymore, Roger. Remember to take your pot of money with you. That's the only way you're going to make it without being male prostitute and fucking throwing hot shots under a bridge for a couple bucks.
Hell yes.
We cut from that to the country club, and Danny's caddying for Ty Webb, and he talks to him about trying to raise enough money to go to college, and Ty tells him to stop thinking and let things happen.
Stop thinking. Let things happen.
As much as I like Ty in this movie, and Chevy Chase does a great job with this character, like Ty's advice to Danny is the most rich white guy shit. It's like if Ty was 2023, he's basically Gary V. Like that's who this guy is. Like,
well, and he illustrates it very well too when he says, you know, like, what's wrong with working in a lumber yard? I own like 3 of them.
Yeah.
Just the complete difference. And again, he plays it so well, just being so unbelievably naive to his privilege or whatever he's got.
Yeah.
That it's just like, you know what, like and he has a point. There's nothing wrong with working in a lumber yard, but also you're the guy that owns the fucking lumber yard. You're dishing out advice at working at the lumber yard.
Yeah.
Not really great. I'm not taking that one at face value.
Exactly. And just FYI, if somebody's worth millions and they're like, hey, stop thinking about it. Just let it happen. Like, they can do that. You cannot. You have to think and research and over-research and overthink before you make a decision because, I don't know, rent and things.
Yeah, the one thing you can learn to do is the whole no, which I've never been able to do in my life, and it pisses me off.
I've never reached that moment of zen in my life, so...
I think that's why. I go, no, fuck you! Just slam the fucking club.
So, meanwhile, Judge Smails shows up. He notices there's a gopher digging up the golf course. He demands the groundskeeper takes care of it. And this is where we enter Carl Spackler, who's tasked with killing said gopher. And we just get random scenes and random cutaways throughout this movie and throughout the story. And this is like the B-C plot, is him trying to take care of the gopher very unsuccessfully throughout the movie.
And for a character that didn't need to be in this movie, it's kind of incredible how much backstory and layers, again, in the writing he has. Like, I mean, the first time you meet him, he's obsessed with the old women at the club.
That's one of the funniest things in the movie.
Just working the ball washer and he's fucking watching these old ladies tee off is one of the best things I've ever seen in my life. And like as you later go on through Spackler's development and him and Ty Webb have a conversation and you see what he's trying to do with it, like unbelievable.
Yeah, no, it's great. And again, for not a boatload of screen time in the movie, because it's literally just cutaways throughout the movie, the amount of quotable lines from Bill Murray in this, just him golfing with while it's right before it starts to really come down and rain, and he's hitting the flowers, like just that whole scene. I can't tell you how many people I've heard just quote that whole scene front to back.
What an incredible Cinderella story. This unknown comes out of nowhere to lead the pack. It looks like I'm a wreck. It's in the hole!
When I used to play golf, I almost did it every time I would hit balls.
Everybody does it. And just an FYI too, because it comes up later in the movie, for anybody that does golf, the whole "Your Honor," that's this movie too. And I think every golfer that I've ever golfed with uses that when teeing off.
I think it was Field of Dreams where we talked about the baseball purists of the world and their views on the game of baseball. This is one of those movies where golf purists will be like, yeah, it's funny, but that's not real golf. No shit. There's a basically talking gopher in this fucking movie, okay? I get it.
There's a Muppet in the cutaways.
Yes. The groundskeeper has access to C4 and models it as rabbits and squirrels to lure a talking gopher out of its hole to explode it.
You were right.
Jinxing somebody, when we get to that, jinxing somebody, Noonan, every time.
Every single time. So Lou here announces that one of the caddies died from an anxiety attack, and the caddy scholarship is available for any caddy that wants it, and anybody that wants it should go see Judge Smails.
I noticed that you're conveniently skipping over Denunzio. Is it because you lost out on the part, or
it is. I'm very upset about it. I will say this. Okay, I'm glad you brought him up. Kind of one of my favorite and least favorite characters in this movie. Mm-hmm. I love him because the actor who plays him does it so well. I love a couple of things. Okay, the little bikini briefs that he wears when they go like he's such an overly Italian guy in this. It's funny. It's great. He smoked every single shot he's got a cigarette in. Love that. But also, I grew up with 4 million guys who acted just like this, unironically. Like, it wasn't meant to be funny. And so that's what makes him my least favorite character in this movie. We then enter Al Czervik, a real estate developer who comes in throwing money around and doing his best Rodney Dangerfield impression. And Al heckles Judge Smails right off the bat. He's on the tee box. Then he hits him in the nuts with his tee shot after he plays ahead. And Judge Smails then gets pissed off, throws his club, his putter, and he injures a club member. And Danny takes responsibility for the whole incident. And this is when Smails thanks Danny and then encourages him to apply for the caddy scholarship.
Corey's life lessons.
Hi, poor white kids. Uncle Corey here. This is how you do it. Just take responsibility when old white rich people fuck up in some way, shape, or form. It's not felonious. Don't take credit for a felony. Because then you're hoes. This isn't Death Row Records we're talking about here. They're not going to take care of you. So, yeah, avoid that. And just to be clear, the reason I specified little white kids as opposed to anybody else is because the rest of y'all are fucked. And you probably already know that.
Yes. And I'm going to tag yours with one of my own don't do that's.
Don't do that, it's not good for you.
Hi, young white kids that are working as caddies or whatever. You find yourself around some old rich white people. And it happens from time to time. Take Corey's advice, and this is what you do. You take responsibility for some dumb incident that happens, and then they're like, oh, thank you, and now I'll try to help you. And that's how you do it. What you don't do is what Danny does here on the golf course. At every single turn, he's trying to impress him and the doctor that he's golfing with and the other dude that he's golfing with. And like, oh yeah, of course. Yes, I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a judge. I want to do this. And you're trying to fit in. You will never fit in. Okay? I've done my fair share of golfing with old rich white people. And it's never gonna happen. No matter how bad you try to fit in, you're never gonna fit in. And if I did, by some chance, get a bunch of money and ended up on that same golf course, I'm new money and I still don't fit in. So don't do any of that.
Facts. And that is evidenced by the fact that Noonan is trying to enter the seminary at one point, and the guy asks him if he's Catholic, and he goes, "Oh, you can't join."
I'm sorry, but I'm afraid you can't come.
At Bushwood's 4th of July banquet, Danny and his girlfriend Maggie work as servers. Al continues to piss off Judge Smails and other club members, while Danny all of a sudden becomes attracted to Lacey, Smails' niece. And after this, Lacey starts hitting on Ty, talks about going to bullfights on acid for fun. This conversation between her and Chevy Chase here is awesome. I loved this. And it was just kind of, it almost seemed like a throwaway scene. They're obviously setting up that she's a whore, basically. And I mean,
she doesn't charge a single person. Facts.
That's true. I'll give you that. But everybody just talks to her like she's banging everybody. And this is just one of those scenes setting that whole thing in motion. But their conversation back and forth with each other is hilarious. And this is what I really liked about this movie and Fast Times and some of these other films from this era, especially comedies. The fact that you can have promiscuous women and nobody really like judges them harshly, or you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, they don't even talk about it.
No. Outside of like, oh, she's rich and she sleeps around. Like,
Smails is the one that's worried, and he's only worried about his own reputation later on. It's not has nothing to do with her or her lifestyle. It's just how that affects him.
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
People talk about it. So, no, I'm totally with you.
This era of promiscuity and like it's not a judgment thing. Everybody's just trying to get through their life and you know, feel their way through things. And what, like, I love that about these comedies from this era.
100%. Even later when her and Noonan sleep together and he is the naive kid, is kind of like, oh, I want you to know you don't have to stop seeing other people. It's like, and she just starts laughing at him. Yeah. Dude, like literally the first time I ever slept with an older woman when I was like 18, it was like, oh my God, are we dating now? And like, it's like, no, you're fucking not.
Is it possible this story is true? Yes, it is.
It's a totally different world that she's from. Yeah. And you're right. Like, just the fact that it's not a big deal. Who cares? Even Ty's like, I'm not impressed with your skinny skiing, your skinny whatever the fuck, and bullfights on acid. He's just like, I got an idea. How about we pretend to be human beings? And she just pieces out on him.
Yep.
Which, by the way, if you want to know how I've had 138 wives, it's basically I have been running Ty Webb's game since I saw this movie. That is pretty much my entire game, is how Ty interacts with Lacey throughout this movie.
We then cut to the caddy tournament. Danny wins the tournament and the scholarship, which gets him attention from Judge Smails, where he asks him to mow his lawn and attend the christening ceremony for his boat. And if you want to go back to like what you were saying about like, you know, this is how you do it, and what I was saying about, you know, how you said you should do it is exactly, because here it shows you're never going to be, you know, you won the scholarship. He's already indebted to you for what you'd done earlier. And your reward for the tournament, for him being indebted to you, is him going, hey, you got to make money for college. Want to mow my fucking lawn? Get to work, lawn boy.
How'd you like to mow my lawn? Huh? I figure a college-bound fella could use a few extra dollars, huh?
So after this scene, we get to the pool scene where the caddies crash the pool area. We get the weird pool dancing routine, and then the infamous Baby Ruth in the pool scene.
You bring up the synchronized swimming, and that's one of the things that kind of struck me as funny, was like what was funny back then.
Yes.
to this audience
Yes.
was literally this bunch of fucking caddies, these misanthropes and nefarious looking creatures running into this posh pool and then just breaking off into this very elegant dance. It's like back then they were pissing their pants laughing at that.
Yes.
And now, like today, we're just like, oh, okay, silliness.
You were right.
Not for me. It was just another scene. And like, I think that outside of the clothing, that type of humor kind of dates it.
Oh, 100%. Like, that's the kind of shit, though, that my dad would laugh at.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
More to this day than I think he would the Baby Ruth scene. And Dookie!
Yeah.
Like, to me, that was the funny scene when I first saw this.
Yes.
And then Spackler going, it's not so bad, and taking a bite. That was funny as fuck back in the day when I first saw this, because, of course, I was a fucking child. You were like 38 and had 3 kids, so I don't know if it was as funny to you. But well, no, like you, my father, his friends.
I mean, I am one of your father's friends, so
exactly. You guys used to go to the social club together. You fucking vampire. But no, like that synchronized swimming shit into like, oh, thank you very little, and you know what I mean? Like that was funny as shit to that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We then cut to Judge Smails' boat christening, and his boat sinks after Al crashes his boat into literally everything in like the harbor, and then drops anchor through Judge Smails' boat. And after the ceremony, Smails gets home to find Lacey and Danny in his bed after having sex, and Danny gets chased through the house, and he gets away.
And we're, of course, skipping over the scene of Spaulding, who we haven't really mentioned yet, smoking his joint and sharing it with everybody and thinking it's really good shit because he got it from a black guy, which is fucking hysterical. And again, perfect for what those type of white snobby motherfuckers would think.
Yep.
Like,
exactly.
I got this. Like, dude, no, you were sold some stems and sticks and seeds and all kinds of nasty shit. It had nothing to do with weed, bro.
And they, just for good measure, they sprinkled some oregano on top of it. You got sold a bag of pencil shavings and oregano. That's what you got.
Probably a little hint of dingleberry, too.
Absolutely. And since you brought up Spaulding, his character, because, again, he's one of these characters that gets a few scenes throughout, but he's just that spoiled rich kid that really hasn't accomplished anything, but he has this fucking arrogance about him. Like, he's the kid literally in this movie and in real life who picks his nose and eats it and then berates somebody because they're poor and they haven't accomplished anything in their life.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of Spaulding too, and just his entitled attitude, I like to, when I'm on a date, like if we go somewhere that's very like outdoors and public, like, you know, you go for like ice cream in the summertime or something. I like to go with the date and I say, what do you want? They'll say, oh, you know, like a chocolate soft serve cone. I'll go, you'll get nothing and like it.
I want a hot dog. I want a milkshake. I want potato
You'll
chip.
get nothing and like it.
That's how you find the real ones. Like if she laughs at it, then I'm like, you're down and you may receive my gift later tonight. But if she doesn't, then I'm like, no entry. I'm like Dikembe Mutombo. No.
Not in my house. No, not today.
This is another great opportunity to echo Armando's Don't Do That, which is Noonan shows up here dressed like the fucking captain from the Love Boat, which, again, you don't belong in this world, and yet you're showing up trying to pretend. Now, of course, the old shit asses think that you're fucking the bee's knees.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something. Escorting old ladies around town ain't the look for you right now, Noonan.
No, listen, and
you need a set of braces and a 20-year-old on your arm, and you're riding high.
Yes, and just FYI, escorting old ladies around and impressing the old men, that's not going to get you paid. at the end of the day, okay? Because that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that track. What escorting, unless you're like going down on the old ladies, that'll get you paid big time. But Noonan doesn't seem like he might be going there in about 20 years when shit doesn't work out. But like right now, that's not the move.
No, this is where you play both sides and you show up looking like Spalding.
Yes.
You bust a couple of lines with him and you're like, yeah, bro, I'll catch you later. And then you like change real quick when you see Grandma and Grandpa Moses coming up the fucking driveway. And you're like, let's ahoy, ahoy. Let's go to the docks, my lady. Or whatever you say to old ladies, you escort. I don't do that.
No, you say things like the bee's knees in front of them.
That's right.
That's what you do. So afterwards, we get Maggie telling Danny that she may be pregnant and they had just had sex and she might be pregnant because she's late. So Danny tells her that he's willing to marry her and then they get in a fight and she storms out.
The way she tells him too is incredible.
I'm late.
Late for what?
For not being pregnant.
It's a great line.
It's fantastic. It took me 30 years of taking a machete and chopping through the jungle that is her accent to figure out that that's actually what she said. But once I figured it out on this viewing, I was laughing my ass off.
Yeah, no, it's a great line. I always laugh at that. And I always laugh at we'll just do a quick don't do that.
Don't do that, it's not good for you.
Hi, Danny Noonans of the world. You don't have a lot of experience in the world. Looks like maybe you've slept with 2 people in your life so far. One of those people comes back and says like, hey, I'm pregnant. You don't have, you're like 17, 18 maybe in this movie. You don't have to get married. Just letting you know that. That might have been a thing in like 1980. Like, well, we got to get married or else I'm going to get like strangled by your father. But yeah, that's just not a thing. You don't have to get married.
No, especially when she's already said it may not be yours. When that sentence is said, you're getting double deuces, and I'm fucking hitting the road, Jack. You call me when you want to smortion, but until that point, it's that other dudes. I'll see you on Maury, bitch. Peace.
Hell yes.
Danny then gets called into Judge Smails' office, and this is where he tells Danny that he wants to keep the whole thing between him and Lacey a secret because, obviously that's going to affect him and what people think of him and how it reflects on him and really has nothing to do with Lacey whatsoever.
No. Could give a shit less about Lacey's reputation.
Oh, exactly. So Smails then finally confronts Al. He tells him that he's never going to be granted membership to the club. This is where Rodney Dangerfield does his best work in this whole thing. He's only there to evaluate because he wants to buy Bushwood and turn it into condominiums, and they get into the whole like back and forth here. And I know we've briefly touched on Rodney Dangerfield, but this is like Rodney Dangerfield movie acting at its peak. Like he is the most Rodney Dangerfield to ever Dangerfield here. And and he plays such a rich douche, like funny, rich douche so well.
Oh yeah, he's basically Kathy Bates' character from Titanic. He's new money.
Yes.
He worked for a living. He happened to get rich by building his condominiums, whatever. And he is in a world he does not. He's the Noonan who, like 30, 40 years later, has realized he doesn't give a fuck. I'm me.
Yeah.
And now with my money, I can really be me, and there ain't nothing you can do about it.
Exactly.
Which I'm like $5.99 away from. Like $5.99 more cents, and I'm fucking there.
One more request. One more request, and I'm there.
One Happy Meal. That's all I need, folks. And I can save this adorable little face.
This is when Al proposes the team golf match with Smails and Dr. Beeper against him and Ty. And they also agree on the $40,000 bet for this little matchup. And we then cut to Carl. This is when Carl's making the explosives to take care of the gopher while the gopher looks through the window. And also that evening is when we get Ty practicing for the matchup the next day. And we have him and Carl drinking the wine and doing the shotgun with the giant Bob Marley joint.
Yeah, two things here. One, this is probably one of the greatest improv scenes that's ever been put down on camera.
Yes.
Because so much of this was just them riffing. This was a throwaway scene.
Yep.
Just somebody said, we need this scene. These two guys really didn't even like each other already.
Yeah.
And so to do this scene was not expected. And so for them to be able to pull this off with the improv they do here is phenomenal. And two, I don't care if somebody I love, not you, but like my mom, was getting stabbed in the face. I would stop and watch this scene if it came on TV.
Their back and forth is so good.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I realized in the scene before this, because I totally agree with you. I love that scene. But in the scene before this,
you'd also let my mom get stabbed in the face so you could watch it?
Yes. Bill Murray talking to himself and with, doing the clay with the rabbit and the thing is so good. And Bill Murray just doing his Bill Murray thing is so good here. But also, this is the first time I really noticed it. Because obviously when you think Caddyshack, you think the movie, you think the funny, but you also think the gopher. Like, the gopher has no speaking lines, but he's almost the star of the fucking movie.
Mm-hmm.
But the gopher here, it's not like just a gopher that's popping in and out of holes and you see like the little digging routes. Like, he's literally a fucking Muppet who's staring through the window and like, he's putting explosives together. And for whatever fucking reason, and again, this goes to the writing, this goes to the directing, this goes to everything. I would normally, in that situation, be like, dude, what the fuck with the goddamn gopher? And in here, it's just like, yeah, the gopher's looking through the fucking window. I don't even bat an eye at the scenes with the gopher in it.
No, dude, we've already reviewed Jaws 4. You think this is anything? The gopher's patient zero for whatever government drug was given to the shark to make him be so fucking conscious of what he was doing. You got a bat an eye at a gopher? Yeah. No. I ain't having it.
Dude, I'm just saying, like, normally that shit would bother me, but in this, and again, I get it, it's a comedy, but still, even in a comedy, that kind of shit fucking rubs me the wrong way, and it doesn't affect me at all when I watch this movie.
No.
But
no, it's always been one of those things for me. I have always been one of those guys where make it make sense. It doesn't have to be super smart. It doesn't have to be, but make it make sense. Like, if you're going to fart, make it a good fart, like Rodney Dangerfield does in the clubhouse. And,
Oh, somebody stepping a duck?
That shit is fucking hysterical. That is a well-timed, well-placed fart.
Yes.
Right? A gopher consciously running around and, like, having this fucking battle with Bill Murray. One, seems like a coke fever dream. And two, seems like it was thrown in just so Bill Murray had a role in the movie.
Yeah.
Which I'm fine with, and I accept that, and I'll take it. But in a lesser world, I would be like, man, fuck this gopher.
Yeah.
Like,
you're right.
Like, and here's the example. Caddyshack 2. Fuck that gopher.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%. And by the way, the second best fart on camera all time, Step Brothers. So it's like this one makes sense, funny, good. You got a good line, and then Step Brothers, they're like, it's like 1A and 1B for me.
100%.
We cut to this golf match the next day. During the game, Smails and Dr. Beeper take the lead, and while Al is literally playing like one of the worst games he's ever played, and he even says, I'm playing the worst game of my life here. And after the turn, he increases the bet to like $80,000, and then Al hits the ball, it ricochets off like the ball washer, and gingerly hits him in the arm, and he fakes an injury. Yeah, he goes, ow, I think it's broken.
And Dr. Beeper goes, well, it could be a fracture of the ulna. Like, what?
Yeah, dude.
Dr. Beeper is low-key one of my favorite characters in this movie.
Oh, yeah, he just pops in and out of scenes here and there, and he's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
He's absolutely awesome. So Al gets injured. He can't go on, so they got to find a replacement. So Danny Noonan replaces him, and by the time they reach the final hole, the score is tied. Danny's about to attempt the putt to win. Al bets an additional, $80,000 on top of what they've already bet on Danny's putt. Danny leaves the ball hanging over the edge, and it's not going in. And this is when we get the Carl placing the explosives in all the gopher holes, detonating said explosives, and then the explosives shake the ground. Danny's ball drops in, and they win the match.
Hey, hey, everybody, we're all gonna get laid.
You know
Another
what?
thing I have shouted so many times at the end of the night.
Yes.
Hey, everybody, we're all gonna get laid.
This is how you end a movie. Like, everybody should have like their Rodney Dangerfield moment at the end of their movie, at the end of their night, or wherever. But that it's just a great line, because he's like, ugh, and he does this Dangerfield thing, and you got the shot of everybody at like the clubhouse, and they're all celebrating. They're like, yeah. That's such a good piece. But my favorite piece is after they win, and he tells Judge Smails, like, hey, better get your checkbook out. And Smails is refusing to pay. So he calls over Moose and Rocco to help the judge find his checkbook.
And what did we say at the Way of the Gun? Fucking old men in slacks and members-only jackets. Run for your life.
Yes. If you see a guy over 50 with even a medium-sized build, if he's got a members-only jacket on, he's a bagman or a hitman or he's something. He's going to take a crowbar to your knee. Just get the fuck out of that situation.
Yeah, and if they have my build, they're a pervert and call the cops.
The movie ends here as the gopher emerges from the ground and dances as Kenny Loggins plays us out, and then we get credits. I don't know what else to say. I mean, we've kind of tongue-kissed this throughout. It's funny. It's got memorable lines. The actors all do a good job. It's written well. Like, there really isn't, outside of like the clothing and, you know, a couple of jokes or jokey scenes in the movie, like it's not really dated.
No,
like,
there's
it still
definitely
holds up.
some old school humor.
Yeah.
You're going to get a little lesson, little history lesson. In some of that like late 70s, early 60s kind of comedy influences being shown here.
Yeah.
But by and large, no, this is totally an easy movie. Outside of like maybe a nudity scene, you can watch this basically with your kids still.
Yeah.
Most of the adult jokes they're not going to get.
Yeah.
But some of the jokes like the farting and, you know, some of that stuff they'll think is funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I think the only thing left to say, and it was one of the last things you said, was Kenny Loggins dropped a fucking dope-ass soundtrack.
Dude, I don't care who you are. After you watch this movie, you got, it's all right. That is stuck in your fucking head.
I've been in my dog's face, literally, like, oh, you here. Our audience is the dog right now, okay? Tick, 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 tick. That's what I've been doing the whole time.
No, the soundtrack is good. I'll be honest, I'm not a huge Kenny Loggins fan, but like, still, this is a fun soundtrack. I'll say
Kenny
that.
Kenny Loggins puts a movie soundtrack out. I'm motherfucking there, bitch.
That's true. That's true. The dude can write the soundtrack to anybody's movie and make it better.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Loggins and Messina, but I know about Loggins and fucking Top Gun. How about that, cuz? Fucking checkmate, bitch.
Exactly. I mean, I don't really have anything else for this. Do you? We good?
No, sir. We're good. This movie's fantastic. Everybody, if you haven't seen it, crawl out from under your goddamn rock and watch a fucking movie for once. And if you haven't seen this in a while, it is 100% worth the revisit. It put me in such a good mood for the rest of the day watching this.
Yes.
I love it.
No, it's fucking fantastic.
And thank you, April, again for such a beautifully. I mean, like, it's one thing if you send us a high dollar request and ask us to review a Howard the Duck. It's like, all right, it's worth the money.
Yes.
Holy shit. Like, keep this shit coming. We love it.
100%. I couldn't agree more. And on that note, we'll get out of here. For Corey, I'm Armando. This is Kiss the Reviews, and this was 1980s Caddyshack.
Tick, 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 tick.